Mark's bulgy, fat fingers gripped tightly around the steering wheel of his light blue four-door automobile as he was driving home from his job. Only one real constant thing was on his mind. He was hungry. He thought about the choices of food he could nuke in the microwave oven as soon as he got home. As he pulled up to a stop at a red light, he knew there were pizza rolls, burritos, and even hamburgers he could nuke. He didn't know exactly what he wanted. Maybe he would just nuke them all. Sweat poured from his forehead, and he tried without much success to wipe it away with one of his pudgy hands. Sweat already soaked through his button-up dress shirt, and the blotches of wetness showed under his armpits and on his back through the white long-sleeved shirt. The light turned green, and the traffic began to move again. His corduroy brown slacks felt wet to him as well, and he silently cursed the heat before his thoughts went back to food again. He stepped on the gas pedal slowly, easing onward with the traffic, cursing the slow-moving vehicles that were keeping him from his precious food. He didn't really even know why he was so hungry. He had, after all, just ate 4 donuts and drank a large cup of hot chocolate just an hour ago. Deep down inside, he knew he needed to lose weight, and all that junk food he ate wasn't good for him at all. Even the doctor had told him all this, but the truth of the matter was that he didn't really care. Nobody really cared about him, so why should he care about himself? All of his life he had been fat. Even after he tried to work out, diet, and anything else he could think of to do, nothing really ever worked to make him thinner. And after several failed attempts, he simply gave up hope. Kids in school had always made fun of him for it. "Hey Mark, I surrender before you eat me," they would tease, making fun of both his name and how fat he was at the same time. It really hurt him that kids could be so cruel. What had even hurt more was the bullies who would say, "Hey Mark, I surrender." Then they would pounce on him and beat the living tar out of him. This thought infuriated him slightly, along with the slow-moving traffic as he pulled up behind 2 cars at a 4-way stop sign. He noticed several good-looking girls in the car in front of him, and though he looked at them with interest, he knew he would never have a chance with any of them. He definitely wasn't ever what you would call a ladies' man, and he never really had any friends at all, especially any that were female. Any person that ever had anything to do with him always was there just using him for something, mostly just taking advantage of him. He never even went to any of his school social events because of this. He never went to prom or even his own graduation. What was the point? He knew that everyone didn't really care if he showed up or not, so he chose not to go through the hassle. Deep down, he knew this was just a fear of his as well, as he edged the car forward slowly to a stop behind the car full of girls at the stop sign. He felt that going to those events would all be the same. He would go, try to ask a woman to dance, and be shot down. And then to top it off, the bullies would be there and at least make fun of him, if not actually beat him up. Of course he opted for the coward's way out of not going instead of testing his theory out. His parents, always too busy with their own careers and being the only child able to stay out of trouble and take care of himself, left it open for him to do whatever he wanted, and no one seemed to notice that he never went, especially since he had made such good grades that he had earned himself a scholarship to start college immediately in the summer. He watched as the car full of girls took off, and he slowly pulled up to the stop sign himself. He wondered about how he often thought about what it would be like to be a ladies' man. Occasionally, he daydreamed of having sexual relations with various women. He even tried on some occasions to ask women out, but was immediately turned down every time. He slowly pulled out from the stop sign and continued on down the road towards his home and the awaiting food he desperately craved. Hell, it was even this dream of being a ladies' man that drove him into his first career choice. Ladies always fell for the successful lawyer and doctor. or at least they did on television. He knew right off that his huge, fat, pudgy fingers would never quite grip a scalpel just right to make the right decision in an operation, and the sight of blood made him feel a little queasy. So the only real choice for him was to become a lawyer. It wasn't even all that hard of a job, really. You just went in front of people and argued your point, and hopefully your point was better made than your opponent's. Quite simple, really, as long as you didn't think too much about making an idiot out of yourself in front of people, which he no longer cared if he did or not. He went to college, learned all the important legalese words, and was even hired onto a law firm, but the women never came to him. His first case as a defendant lawyer is what really turned him away from this line of work. He just simply didn't have the stomach for it, which was really saying a lot considering the size of his stomach. The name of his first and only client had been Randall Bookbagger. He was up on murder one charges, and it was up to good old Mark to prove Randall was innocent. Mark knew for a fact, though, that this was not in any way, shape, or form true. Randall had committed the murder, and even bragged about it in confidence to Mark, who could say nothing to anyone about it because of the lawyer-client confidentiality. Mark thought for sure that he was going to lose the case and ruin his credibility as a lawyer, but to his astonishment he had won. An important piece of evidence that would have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that Randall had done it was thrown out of the court on a minor technicality. Without that, the prosecutor had no real case at all against Randall. To Mark's surprise, he made his argument and won. This made him a very successful lawyer, but it made his stomach turn. It allowed a murderer to roam free, and even though Mark was paid handsomely well for it, his stomach turned at the idea of what he had done, and he no longer wanted to be a lawyer. It had relieved him just a little that a week later Randall had been found murdered, but that didn't change his mind about the job, really. After such a successful case, he had found that many people were interested in hiring him as their defendant lawyer as well, but he turned them all down.